Prime Minister, with 10 million people vaccinated, is it morally right that it continues to be illegal for the over 70s, 80s and 90s not to see relatives who have also been vaccinated and waited their 3 weeks? You're saying that there's not enough data, but don't you have to balance this with the fact that for some of these people, time might be short and you've had pretty strong evidence already? Can't we apply some common sense to people like that in particular, rather than criminalising them? And to Chris Whitty, there are some people in government who say that every adult might have had, or at least been offered, a first dose by May and a second dose by the end of August. What do you think of that? And in that case, what's the rationale for social distancing measures in the winter, life not back to normal, which some of your colleagues have suggested might be the case?
Well, Sam, I totally understand people's feelings of frustration and how strongly people want to be able to see their elderly relatives. I would just give a very simple answer. Obviously, those steps have been taken with care homes to make them as COVID secure as possible, to allow people to be visited under very controlled circumstances. But you've seen the numbers in care homes lately, although they're not as bad as they were, perhaps there's a proportion of the deaths as they were in the first peak. They remain very, very sad, and we are seeing far too many deaths of elderly people, and so we've just got to remain very cautious for the time being. But as you can see, we are making huge progress through those groups, and we'll go on in the weeks ahead. And the time to get everybody done, as you know, can be now measured in weeks and months. So we will get it done as fast as we conceivably can.
In answer to the question you asked me, I mean, optimism is a great thing, but logistics aren't about optimism. They're simply about what numbers you can get through in the right kind of order. And I think the number that May and August strike me as at the very optimistic end. I think if you talk to people who are doing this extraordinarily fast rollout, and if you look at this globally, this is an extraordinarily fast rollout, they would say they will go absolutely hell for leather, as people are doing an incredible job. But those numbers, trying to hit those dates, that is probably beyond what is possible given the constraints of supply and all the other things that we have to deal with. Remember, also, it's very important we've got to revaccinate all the people in the first tiers as they go through. So at a certain point, and that point, we had this process of delaying the second dose, largely to increase the number of people we could get through very quickly to begin with, to provide that initial, the predominant protection at the beginning. But we do have to vaccinate all of them within 12 weeks, and that means that from March we'll be starting to revaccinate as well as the first vaccines, and that will inevitably slow things down. And on winter, the reason my colleagues have implied that a highly contagious respiratory virus, which is not going to be eradicated from the globe or indeed eliminated from the UK, may surge in winter, is because that's what highly contagious respiratory viruses always do. I think everybody knows that. So it is no surprise to anybody, I think, and should not be, that even if we have a highly successful vaccine rollout, which we clearly are having, and the vaccines work very well, which we very much hope we'll have the solid data on very soon, there will still be residual risk. If you think of flu, which actually is probably less contagious. That's why we managed to get rid of flu completely this year, but with the NPI measures, than COVID. You still have flu surges despite lots of people being vaccinated and many people having had it previously. So you've just got to expect that in the winter there will be surges of respiratory virus. And I think to expect that somehow magically this will not apply to COVID seems surprising. And I don't think that will come as any surprise to anyone in the general public.